Hello, guys. I hope you guys are doing good, and I hope you must have already seen my previous video where I've explained about the conditional statements as well as the loops, right? And where I explained detailedly with the programs there. Okay, we shall learn more about the the for loops and if conditions by taking more examples. So in the upcoming videos. For now, let's actually go to the next important topic, which is the object oriented programming. Oops. Okay. So OOPS is nothing but object oriented programming. So there are four pillars of OOPS, that is encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction. Right. So, what is encapsulation? Right? Encapsulation is the practice of keeping fields private and providing access via public methods. Okay. So, the best example of encapsulation is a class in Java. Okay. So, where so this, for example, this is a class. Okay. So, what are we doing here? Encapsulate. What are we encapsulating? We are encapsulating the private variables inside a class. Okay, we are hiding it and we are providing the access to this. So what do you mean by private? Declaring a variable as private, it means that these variables are accessible only within the class. Okay, if I have to access these variables outside the class, okay, it can be done using the setar and getar methods. Okay, so what are we doing here? So the best example of encapsulation is class. So wrapping the methods as well as the variables inside the class is nothing but a encapsulation. Okay, and you can take a real-time example also. So where you just go to a ATM, right? So when you go to the ATM, okay, so when you go to the ATM there, what do you know, see there? You just, do you see internal things? We don't see internal things, right? We just need a keypad to interact with the system. What is happening behind the things, you doesn't know about that, right? That is nothing but encapsulating. Okay, so I hope you are good with the encapsulation. So you just go to the bank's ATM, you can't reach inside, right, and change the balance directly. You have to use the keypad, that is methods, to interact with the internal data, right? Similarly the same way, right? So the next topic in the oops is the inheritance. So inheritance is a very important topic, okay, which you will use in day-to-day life in your programming thing in, okay, when you just start working on the coding part, or you when you work on the project there. Okay, so the usage of the or the advantage of inheritance is the reusability. Okay, so what is meant by inheritance? So let's take a real-time example here. Okay, so we have, so you have father, you have grandfather, and your son. Okay, so there are three levels here. Okay, father, or let's take in this way. So you have grandfather, father, and son. Okay, so grandfather is, okay, son is inheriting the properties from the father. Okay, father is inheriting the properties from the grandfather, right? So it means that he is, father is getting some of the properties, or his maybe his uh, what do you call, his face color and all these things, right? So he is getting or acquiring the properties from his father. Fine. So when you say this level, right, grandfather to father, okay, this is nothing but single inheritance. Okay, so this is nothing but single inheritance. So there are different types of inheritances there. So what is meant by single inheritance here? What do you have? This grandfather is called as a superclass. Okay, and this father is called as a subclass. Okay, fine. So father will extend, father using a keyword called extend, you inherit the properties of the grandfather. So let's take an example, or just see here. Okay, so what are we doing? We have a class called smartphone. Okay, so Smartphone inherits the features of the cell phone from a feature called cell phone, like calling. Okay, but it adds its own browsing. Okay, let's take this example. Okay, let's create a class called smartphone. So here you consider smartphone as the grandfather. Okay, so real time example, right? So smartphone is the, sorry, we'll take cell phone as the grandfather. Okay, and you have something called smartphone. Fine. So inside the cell phone, what you do, you have a feature called calling. Okay, so what do you mean by this? Public void calling. You have this feature. Okay, so this is, okay, so cell phone feature. Okay, now inside the smartphone, okay, what happens, you're just using a keyword called extends here. Okay, you're using a keyword called extends, and you're trying to extend cell phone class. So what happens is, okay, so when you just try to uh, create a class of the smartphone. Okay, right, so you're declaring a, you are actually giving reference variable. Okay, so if you check smartphone dot, you have not given the calling method inside this smartphone class. Okay, but how it is getting your, it is getting from the superclass. Superclass has this feature, right? Superclass is a feature called cell phone. Okay, now, so this is the superclass. Okay, so I'm adding a comment. Okay, so it will be clear. This is a superclass. Fine, and this is a child subclass or the child class. So inheritance can be or acquired using a keyword called extends. So you're extending a class called cell phone. Okay, but even though the calling method is not present in the smartphone, you getting this feature using the parent class or the superclass. Okay, so if you try to, okay, so you can finish this string. Okay, so if you just try to run this, sorry, try to run this class, so it will say uh, that smart cell phone feature has been printed. So this is called a single inheritance. Okay, where cell phone is extending smartphone. Okay, and if you want, okay, so what are we doing? We are actually inheriting the properties from the superclass, In addition to that, okay, if you want to add more features like browser, okay, so you can add more features in this class. Okay, so what is happening here? It got stuck. Okay, just give me a couple of minutes. So what do we do here is you just return browser. Okay, just don't go with the exact keywords here. Okay, I mean spellings mistake can be there, so just understand the feature. Okay, just try to get the concept here. Okay, so if you say smartphone dot browsing, okay, so you're adding additional features here. Okay, now, okay, this is, you want to return string, and let me correct this spelling also for you. Okay, so if you want, you're calling the parent class, but if you want, what you can do is this calling method you can also override in the subclass. Okay, so currently what happened, it has, since the calling method is not available in the this smartphone class, it was calling the superclass calling method. Okay, now what is happening, you are trying to override it. Okay, you're trying to write the logic of this smartphone. If you want to override it, okay, if you want to override the method which is already written in the cell phone, you can do that also. This is smartphone feature. He has inherited and he is extending the features of the calling. Smartphone can do that also, right? So that's why it is saying overriding. If you check it, this says that you have to add override methods in cell phone. Okay, so if I, so earlier if you run this method, now if you check it, this smartphone dot calling, okay, this will go to this line. Okay, it's first, what its check is, if it checks whether calling is present in the this current class. If it is there, yes, it will try to print this. If it is not there, it will try to call the super class. So if you check here, if you run this, so we also covered a one of the feature called overriding. Okay, so overriding is nothing but you are trying to, so I'll show you what do you mean by overriding more here. So if you check what happened, first it checked calling is there in this method, yes, it is there. Okay, and it has written that I mean browsing here. Okay, it has written the browsing also, it has called browsing method. So this is single inheritance. Okay, now there is something called multi-level inheritance. What do you mean by multi-level inheritance? I had told you, right? So multi-level inheritance is nothing but grandfather, father, and son. Okay, here we took smartphone, cell phone. Okay, so there can be one more class which will extend the smartphone. Okay, let's take any new feature smartphone, or let's say any, for example, we'll take an example of Android phone or something, for example. Okay, we can take anything. Now, so now you're extending which class? Smartphone. So earlier we learned about the single inheritance. Now the multi-level inheritance. What is meant by multi-level inheritance here? If I take an example, okay, so we had earlier something, a parent class or a super class. or parent class, right? Then we had smartphone, which was extending the cell phone class. Fine. So this was a class, okay, which was extending cell phone class. So this is a class which was actually we declared this, right? So this is, so here what are we doing here? Single inheritance, only one class, right? Smartphone was extending this super class, right? So we should not give any spaces, just to, okay. So and this is cell phone, okay. So here we had only single inheritance. Fine. Now you are adding one more feature called Android phone. Here you are extending smartphone. This is multi-level inheritance. Okay, multi-level. Level in the sense cell phone is extending. I mean, smartphone is extending cell phone, and Android phone is extending the smartphone. This is multi-level. Okay, so parent, you had one cell phone class. So this is multi-level inheritance, right? You got this concept, right? Now, there is one more thing, a concept called multiple inheritance. Okay, so what is meant by multiple inheritance is, so how do we generally burn? So we need mother and father, right? And then a son will be produced, right? So you had two parent classes, father and mother. Okay, let's check whether multiple inheritance is supported in Java or not. Okay, so you have a class called father, okay, and you have a class called mother. Okay, I'll change this to class, okay, and I'll try to remove this method. And you have a class called son, okay, and we'll try to implement this using extends keyword. Okay, so what it says here, if you check what is error it gives. So class cannot extend multiple classes. If you learn the same concept is available in CPP or C++, right? In CPP, multiple inheritance is supported, but in Java, this multiple inheritance is not supported. Okay, it's not supported in the sense it's not supported via the a keyword called class. Okay, it can be supported using a new concept called, I mean, you cannot directly extend these two things. Okay, I mean, mother father, you can't extend, when the son can't extend both the classes at a time. I mean, you at a time you can only extend one class, you can't extend multiple classes. Okay, to over, this is called as a diamond problem. Okay, diamond problem in the sense, so this is one of the most used, most asked interview question. What is a diamond problem? What is a diamond problem is, you have a father, you have a mother. Okay, I'm just taking an example, but in real world we can take more examples. Okay, if I show you the real world example. Okay, so let's come down. So you have a uh, so you have an example of, here you can check it multi-level, right? So you have printable and you have showable. Okay, now document, if you're trying to extend, right? So you're trying to extend document using printable and showable, right? Like, let's take an example, this one. Okay, so if you have to cover this, right, there is a concept of interface in Java. Okay, so what I can do is, instead of declaring this mother classes, this mother class as class, I will use a keyword called interface. Okay, so what is an interface is nothing but, okay, so it is a subset of abstract methods, void produce or something. I'll use some method. Okay, okay, so what is this? So generally, if you have seen my seen the other methods, we were providing the body. If you check the self whole class, we were providing the body. Okay. Inside a class, if we are declaring a method, it has to be declared via the body. Okay. But inside the interface, okay, so interface is nothing but a set of abstract method. What is mean by abstract method? It means that it doesn't have any body. Okay. So it means that it doesn't have any body. Okay. So if I, this is meant by body. Okay. So in interface, I can't provide this. Is that fine? So so I have to declare this method as abstract. So by default, so you can't see this. So this is called as abstract. Okay. Abstract is nothing but by defaultly this is this uh, this method is public stat, I mean public abstract void. Okay. You can't see that, but Java will append it to this. Okay. So this is an abstract method. Now if I go to a class called sun, how do I need to do is I need to implement this. There is a keyword. So if you are using interface, you have to use a keyword called implements. If you are using class, you have, if you are extending it, you have to use a keyword called extends. So what it is saying, you have declared a method called mother which is abstract. Now the method which is implementing, or the class which is implementing this or implementing that interface has to provide the body. Okay. If you read the error here, class sun must be declared abstract or implement abstract method interface. Okay. Either you have to declare this class as abstract. So this is abstract class. Okay. So this is the abstract class, or what I can do is I can actually over implement it. I can implement the method. Means that I have to provide the body to this produce method. Okay. So there we did not provided the body. This is called abstract method. Here I need to provide the body to this. The class which is extending this interface has to write the logic. So why does it happens? Okay. So I will take a real time examples, right? So whenever you're working in a group of people or group of, right, you have some team, right? So if it is asked to develop a feature, five people might write their five terminology, right? So to avoid the confusion, your lead or your or the design which happens is, so they will try to do some low level design where they will declare the interface with some method, or they will say that you write produce. Okay, that is being declared by your leaders. Okay. And then you just try to extend that class or implement that class and write your logic. I i hope this concept is clear, right? What is an interface? Interface is nothing but, okay, interface is nothing but, I just go here. Okay. Interface is nothing but set of abstract method. Okay. I hope this concept is clear. And which means that it is without body. Okay. I hope this concept is clear. Now in Java, multiple inheritance is possible using interface. Okay. Multiple. So if you check this, okay, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one more thing. Okay. Since if this, okay, I'll declare father, right? So father also I give it as uh, interface. I'll change it to interface. Okay, instead of class I am using a keyword called interface. Okay. Now if you just go here, okay, it is giving an error called father. What it is, it's saying no interface expected here. Change extends father to implements. So I can have any number of implements. Okay, I'll just remove this. So I just need to give comma. Okay. So using the interface keyword, I can have any number of uh, interfaces. But using extends, right, I can only have one class to be extended, I can't have multiple. So using interface I can extend anything. You got that concept? I'm maybe I'm confusing you or not sure, but so using the interfaces, okay, you can actually implement any number of classes. You can implement any number of classes, okay, but class can have only extend only one class, okay. I hope that this concept is clear, okay. Now let's go to the next concept called polymorphism. So what is meant by polymorphism is, okay, polymorphism allows a single action to behave differently depending upon the object performing it. This is actually usually achieved using, so polymorphism can be achieved using something called method overriding and overloading. Okay. So what is meant by method overloading and what is meant by method overriding? Okay. So method overloading is nothing but, so don't confuse between this method overloading method. So method overloading can be done in the same class. Okay, let's take an example of addition. Okay, so I have a class called, I have a method called public void or bed int add. So this is the return type. Okay, this is the access modifier, this is the return type, and this is the method name. Okay, how many parameters I'm passing here? Int a comma int b. Okay, now the same method I am introducing one more variable here. Okay, so method overload is nothing but two or more methods having the same method name but with different parameters. If you check here, we have only two parameters. Here we are having three parameters. Okay, it's just that the parameter have been increased. So this is called a method overloading. It happens between the same classes. Okay, so this is method overloading. Two or more classes having the same method name but with different parameters. Different parameters in sense, here we have two parameters, here we have three parameters. So same, let's check this example here. Okay, so I'm saying public int add. Okay, I say int a comma int b. Okay, so what I'm doing here, int c equals to, or return c equals to a plus b. Okay, or I have to declare this, then one second, I'll do this int c and then I say return c. Okay, now same method name, I'm just copying this same method name, two or more methods with the same method name but with the different parameters. Okay, so here I'm saying I'll add d. Okay, then this is k, or this is c. Okay, let's take c, and this we will declare as some k and I'll return k. Okay, so for just faster thing, what we'll do is, just to save the timing, static void main. Okay, so here I'm creating a class, I'm creating an object of additional class. Okay, so addition